Beneath the sun-dappled shallows of coral reefs, where anemones sway gently and damselfish flicker through crevices, an ambush is brewing in absolute silence. The mantis shrimp, a creature barely longer than a finger, waits motionless in a burrow it has carved into the hard substrate. Its armored body is clad in iridescent shades of turquoise, crimson, and lime, but this dazzling display is not a warning. It is a deception, because nothing about its appearance suggests that within its tiny multi-jointed arms lies one of the fastest and most violent weapons in the animal kingdom. Tucked beneath its body are two raptorial appendages that resemble clubs more than claws. These smashers, as scientists call them, are sheathed and loaded like spring-loaded pistons. At the end of each appendage is a calcified hammer that, when unleashed, moves with such blinding speed that it doesn't merely strike, it breaks the laws of aquatic physics. The mantis shrimp's punch travels at speeds exceeding 80 kilometers per hour, reaching the target in under 3 milliseconds. For scale, that's faster than a .22 caliber bullet leaving the muzzle. The true violence of the strike lies not just in the blow itself, but in what follows. The rapid motion creates a phenomenon known as cavitation, a momentary vacuum in the water that collapses with a flash of heat and force. These collapsing bubbles generate temperatures close to 4,700 degrees Celsius, comparable to the surface of the sun, and produce a shockwave that can stun or kill prey even if the initial strike misses. The mantis shrimp, in effect, has evolved a biological hammer so powerful that it creates plasma in water. For a creature that weighs less than a golf ball, that is an extraordinary engineering feat of evolution. Inside the reef, the mantis shrimp doesn't pursue its prey in open water. It relies on stealth and precision. Peeking through the slits of its burrow, it watches the movement of snails, crabs, and even mollusks with a pair of compound eyes that rank among the most complex in the animal kingdom. These eyes operate independently, scanning for movement with a level of visual detail far beyond human perception. Mantis shrimp can detect polarized light in up to 12 color channels, 4 times what humans can process. This sensory acuity gives them the advantage of detecting subtle shifts in prey posture, scale iridescence, or even minute vibrations in the water. When a crab ventures too close, picking delicately at the coral for algae, the mantis shrimp prepares. Its entire body coils backward, anchoring against the burrow's rear wall like a loaded spring. There's no warming up, no test jab, no feint. The strike is instant and final. With a sudden release of stored energy, the appendage fires forward and lands with a sickening crack. The crab's carapace, designed by nature to resist predation, shatters like ceramic under the force. In some cases, the target isn't even pierced. It's simply obliterated from the inside, the shockwave turning muscle and organ into soup. What's more astonishing is how often this happens. In laboratory conditions, mantis shrimp have been recorded delivering hundreds of strikes without visible wear to their hammers. Their dactyl clubs are made of a unique composite of crystalline calcium phosphate and chitin, arranged in a spiral-like structure that dissipates force efficiently. Engineers have studied this biological material for potential use in aircraft armor, body protection, and even impact-resistant sports gear. The shrimp, it seems, is a natural innovator. Their world, however, is not one of uncontested dominance. Despite their prowess, mantis shrimp are not apex predators. They are hunted by larger fish, octopuses, and eels. To compensate, they maintain an aggressive territorial strategy. Many species build and guard complex burrows, often with multiple escape tunnels. When threatened, they do not flee immediately. Instead, they turn to face the intruder, arms cocked, ready to strike, a tactic that has earned them the nickname thumb splitters among divers who've had the misfortune of handling them. The power they wield is not scaled down for size. In fact, it makes them one of the only invertebrates capable of cracking aquarium glass. Even mating among some species of mantis shrimp involves bursts of speed and confrontation. In certain species, males compete for burrows with high-intensity sparring matches, trading blows in rapid succession. But despite the violence, there is a surprising degree of restraint. These fights are usually non-lethal, designed to assess strength without risking damage to the delicate striking appendages. It is an arms race where bluff and display often precede actual combat, evolution conserving its most valuable weaponry for when it matters most. Different species of mantis shrimp have evolved alternative versions of this same principle. While smashers dominate shallow reefs, spearers patrol sandy substrates and muddy estuaries. These mantis shrimp don't punch, they impale. Their raptorial arms are long, barbed, and whip forward to snatch soft-bodied prey like fish and worms. Spearers lack the blunt force trauma of their smashing cousins, but they make up for it with reach and speed, striking with equal swiftness in linear attacks. Both strategies, though visually distinct, hinge on one evolutionary truth. Speed, when compressed into milliseconds, becomes a force multiplier. In some ecosystems, mantis shrimp play an outsized role despite their size. By preying on crustaceans and mollusks that might otherwise overgraze coral or spread unchecked, they help maintain reef balance. Their burrows aerate and shape sediment, and their complex social signaling, involving body posture, color shifts, and antenna movements, suggests cognitive abilities beyond what most crustaceans display. Scientists studying their behavior note that certain species can recognize individual neighbors, remember past conflicts, and even resolve disputes through ritualistic display rather than force. What remains perhaps most fascinating is that such a powerful predator is still relatively elusive. Mantis shrimp are notoriously difficult to observe in the wild. Their speed defies conventional underwater filming equipment, and their habitats are often concealed in complex reef matrices. Much of what we know about their strike mechanics comes from ultra-high-speed cameras in lab environments, filming at over 20,000 frames per second. Without this technology, the movement is simply invisible, a blur, a puff of sand, a shattered shell. In nature, the victims never see it coming. In the hierarchy of marine speed, the mantis shrimp does not win long-distance races. It doesn't cruise across oceans or leap from waves. It wins in the opening frame. It is a champion of the first strike, a specialist that turned the millisecond into a battleground. In doing so, it became a symbol of how velocity, when compressed and channeled with precision, can redefine what it means to be a predator. Not every racer in the ocean needs to swim. Some win by punching first, and when they do, they leave shockwaves behind. In the bright, clear waters of tropical shallows, where sunbeams pierce down through shifting blue and cast trembling shadows across sandy bottoms and coral ridges, a strange stillness hangs beneath the surface. Small fish drift in and out of sea fans. Schools of jacks flash silver as they pivot in unison. And above it all, the water seems peaceful, almost quiet. But there is tension in that calm, something hidden in plain sight. A long, lean silhouette floats motionless in open water, barely twitching its pectoral fins. Its body is metallic, like polished chrome, interrupted only by a set of jagged, oversized teeth barely concealed behind slightly parted jaws. This is the great barracuda, and it is waiting. At a glance, the barracuda looks almost too obvious to be a successful ambush predator. Reaching lengths over 1.5 meters, its body is not camouflaged like a flounder or mottled like a grouper. It doesn't bury itself in sand or hover near cover. Instead, it hovers in the open, banking on two things: speed and timing. The barracuda hunts by remaining perfectly still until the last possible second, and then launching forward in a line so direct and fast, its prey often doesn't register the attack until it's already over. It's not pursuit, it's interception, and it's devastatingly effective. Unlike dolphins or tuna, which are built for sustained high-speed swimming, barracudas are sprinters. Their body is long and cylindrical, with powerful muscles along the tail and caudal peduncle, the narrow region just before the tail fin, designed specifically for short, explosive propulsion. Their tail is deeply forked, built to slice water with maximum efficiency. When a barracuda attacks, it generates an immediate thrust that can propel it from 0 to over 40 kilometers per hour in a heartbeat. This movement is aided by reduced drag. The skin is covered with small, tightly packed cycloid scales, and the head tapers into a pointed snout, minimizing resistance as it cuts through water. What makes barracudas particularly dangerous is not just their speed, but their precision. They do not bite indiscriminately. They aim and they target. Their prey includes fast-moving fish like mullets, sardines, and needlefish, species known for rapid evasive maneuvers. But the barracuda compensates with astonishing acceleration and highly developed vision. Its large, well-positioned eyes allow excellent depth perception and tracking, even in murky or low-light conditions. In some studies, barracudas have been observed timing their attacks to strike through narrow gaps in schools of fish, bypassing decoys and focusing directly on the slowest or least alert individual. What follows a strike is not always a clean kill. The barracuda's teeth unlike those of sharks, are not meant for sawing or swallowing whole. They are designed to shear. Each fang-like tooth is razor-sharp, and the largest can measure over a centimeter in length. Positioned in irregular rows along both jaws, these teeth are interlocking and capable of slicing cleanly through flesh, scales, and even bone. When the barracuda connects with a prey fish, it often removes a large chunk of the body in a single pass, enough to disable or fatally wound, and circles back to finish the job if needed. It doesn't waste time on chewing. It removes what it needs and swallows it quickly before other predators arrive to contest the kill. In reef ecosystems, the barracuda serves a peculiar ecological role. It acts as both predator and regulator, controlling populations of small and mid-sized reef fish that, unchecked, could disrupt the delicate balance of coral health. Their presence also deters certain species from overfeeding on algae-grazing fish, which are essential to preventing coral smothering. In this way, the barracuda's violence has an indirect stabilizing effect. But it also means that many fish instinctively react to their silhouette, avoiding open spaces where barracudas are known to cruise. Contrary to popular belief, barracudas are not mindless attackers. While their aggression is well documented, and often exaggerated, most attacks on humans are cases of mistaken identity or provoked encounters. Spearfishermen carrying freshly caught fish are most at risk, as the scent of blood and fluttering of dying prey can trigger a strike reflex. The fish's vision is acutely tuned to movement, and shiny jewelry or watch faces reflecting light can, in rare instances, resemble the flash of fleeing baitfish. But deliberate attacks without provocation remain exceedingly rare. Their true interest lies in the endless race for survival that plays out between predator and prey beneath the reef canopy. Juvenile barracudas, meanwhile, adopt a different strategy. Rather than hovering solo in open water like the adults, they often form small groups in the safety of mangroves and lagoons. These nurseries offer protection and abundant food, allowing young barracudas to practice their ambush techniques on shrimp and smaller fish. As they grow, they become increasingly solitary and territorial, often dominating specific sections of reef or open channels. A full-grown barracuda, especially one that has claimed a hunting ground, will defend it not with violence, but with presence. Their stillness becomes a message, a quiet warning to intruders that speed and force are always an option. Among all marine predators, few demonstrate such a stark contrast between inactivity and violence. One moment, the barracuda is a statue, still indifferent, almost lazy. The next, it's a blur of kinetic energy, a missile launched with silent precision. It doesn't chase for long. It doesn't need to. Its body is engineered to make a single moment count. And if that moment is mistimed, it simply returns to stillness, recalibrating, watching, waiting. Unlike sharks that roam or dolphins that coordinate, the barracuda relies on the art of economy. One strike, one kill, minimum effort, maximum result. In recent years, marine researchers have begun to study the hydrodynamics of barracuda locomotion to understand the biomechanics of extreme acceleration. High-speed underwater videography has revealed that their strike involves a two-phase movement, a rapid sideways curve that generates torque, followed immediately by a whip-like flick of the tail that delivers the thrust. This movement is so refined that the fish barely leaves a visible wake, maintaining stealth even as it accelerates. Engineers have looked at these patterns for potential design in autonomous underwater vehicles, fast, directional propulsion with minimal noise or resistance. But for the barracuda, this isn't innovation. It's instinct, the result of millions of years of evolutionary fine-tuning, shaped by the necessity of timing over endurance, of short bursts over long pursuits. In ecosystems where hesitation means hunger and hesitation twice means death, the barracuda plays the part of the ambusher with ruthless efficiency. It has no need for group tactics or camouflage, no patience for chases or stalking. Its weapon is speed, and its success lies in the fact that it waits until the exact second that speed becomes lethal. There are faster fish in the ocean, sailfish, marlins, even some tunas, but few match the barracuda's balance of simplicity and power. Its strikes are not long or dramatic. They are brief, decisive ruptures in the flow of the reef, sudden flashes of violence in a world that otherwise seems serene. And in those moments, when a silver blur crosses the water and a cloud of scales drifts in its wake, the message is clear. In the underwater arms race, nothing outruns precision. In the middle depths of temperate and tropical coastal waters, where the seafloor is a patchwork of algae-draped rock, scattered coral heads and shifting sand, a master illusionist drifts just above the sediment. Its body appears soft and muted, blending seamlessly with its surroundings. One moment it resembles mottled coral rubble. A second later, it takes on the shifting shades of open water, shadows rippling across its skin as if it were simply a reflection of the ocean itself. This is the cuttlefish, a cephalopod that doesn't hunt or flee by speed alone, but by creating confusion, delay, and doubt. At a glance, the cuttlefish hardly seems built for velocity. Its oval body is fringed by a delicate undulating fin that ripples gently for subtle maneuvering. It glides slowly, cautiously, with an eerie grace, more ghost than animal. But behind this calm exterior lies a burst capability few would expect. Beneath the mantle sits a siphon, a muscular funnel that, when contracted rapidly, ejects a stream of water and propels the cuttlefish backwards with surprising force. In this instant, the cuttlefish transitions from a drifting disguise to a speeding projectile. It doesn't rely on sustained swimming like a fish, nor on linear precision like a barracuda. Instead, it darts unpredictably, often combining a jet burst with a simultaneous shift in body coloration, making it difficult for predators to track or anticipate. This unique escape method is not just fast, it's disorienting. As the cuttlefish accelerates, its chromatophores, tiny pigment sacs embedded across its skin, flash into action. These cells contract or expand in real time, changing color in milliseconds. Simultaneously, iridophores and leucophores, structures that reflect and scatter light, layer complex patterns onto the skin. The result is a vanishing act in motion. One moment the cuttlefish is visible, the next it's not simply gone, but replaced by a flicker of shifting colors that blur into the background. In the chaos of the chase, even experienced hunters like groupers or moray eels can lose their target mid-pursuit. What makes the cuttlefish remarkable is not just the burst speed, which rivals many small fish, but how that speed is weaponized with behavioral strategy. Unlike squid, which primarily rely on rapid flight, the cuttlefish is tactical. When approached by a predator, it rarely panics. Instead, it performs a brief assessment, adjusting its body posture, skin pattern, and sometimes its entire texture using papillae, small muscles that change the smoothness of the skin. If retreat is chosen, the escape is fast, erratic, and often accompanied by a sudden release of ink, further clouding the water and masking its trajectory. But if confrontation seems favorable, the cuttlefish may stay in place, pulsing bold warning patterns to signal awareness, confidence, or even bluff aggression. It is a creature that thinks quickly and acts deliberately, even in moments of apparent chaos. Speed for the cuttlefish is just one tool in an arsenal of misdirection. Their ability to control camouflage dynamically means they often don't need to move at all. Some species, like Sepia officinalis, are known to mimic the movement of sand or algae as they approach prey. Small crustaceans, shrimp or fish, in a slow, calculated crawl. When the moment is right, the attack is launched not with a body charge, but with two extendable feeding tentacles that shoot forward from beneath the arms at high speed, impaling or grabbing the prey with suction cup tips. The tentacle strike can be completed in less than 25 milliseconds, faster than the blink of a human eye. The prey is dragged back to the arms, immobilized and consumed. Here, speed is not for running. It's for snatching, punctuated by stillness so convincing it fools not just prey, but even human observers. Cuttlefish are surprisingly intelligent for invertebrates. Their brains, relatively large for their body size, show complex structures associated with learning, memory, and decision-making. In controlled experiments, they've demonstrated problem-solving skills, recognition of individual patterns, and even delayed gratification, choosing a better reward later over an immediate lesser one. This cognitive flexibility is essential for an animal that must constantly interpret, mimic, and react to a complex underwater landscape filled with both predators and opportunities. From an evolutionary standpoint, the need for high-speed escape is clear. Cuttlefish lack an external shell, have no defensive spines, and possess relatively soft bodies. Their internal shell, called a cuttlebone, aids in buoyancy but offers little protection. As such, they rely heavily on early threat detection and immediate evasive response. Their eyes are built for this task. Large, crescent-shaped pupils that maximize contrast and detect polarization. giving them a powerful edge in spotting motion and shape even in murky or low-light conditions. The jet propulsion system, although energy-intensive, provides the necessary escape velocity in those brief but critical moments when stealth fails. But speed, while vital, comes at a cost. The energy expenditure during a jet escape is considerable, requiring immediate oxygen replenishment and recovery. This is one reason why cuttlefish rarely rely on speed unless absolutely necessary. They prefer to use camouflage, positioning, and ambush to avoid the need for flight. When they do flee, they often retreat to structured environments, reef crevices, rock shelves, or vegetation, where their camouflage can be re-engaged and their oxygen debt repaid. The burst of motion is a last resort, used to create a gap wide enough for deception to take over again. Perhaps most intriguing is how the cuttlefish's reliance on rapid escape interacts with its short lifespan. Most species live only 1 to 2 years, maturing quickly and dying after a single breeding season. During this compressed lifespan, they must grow, learn, adapt, and survive in ecosystems populated by faster, stronger, and often more aggressive predators. Speed, both in movement and decision-making, becomes critical. They cannot afford trial and error learning. Their lives are an accelerated blend of instinct and adaptation, driven by an evolutionary pressure to become efficient, tactical operators in a world that offers no second chances. In the hierarchy of marine escape artists, the cuttlefish stands alone. Not because it is the fastest, but because it redefines what speed means. It blends rapid motion with illusion, pairing split-second jets with neurological control over skin cells and body texture. It escapes not just by moving fast, but by becoming invisible mid-run, confusing attackers long enough to slip through a coral gap or vanish into the shimmering haze of the water column. In doing so, it becomes a study in hybrid survival, part sprinter, part magician, entirely adapted to a world where nothing is as it seems. And speed is not just movement, but transformation. In the open mid-water zones far from reefs and coastlines, where sunlight thins into a dim blue haze and the sea stretches in every direction without anchor or shelter, movement must be quick, decisions quicker, and mistakes are rarely forgiven. Here, in this fluid void, the squid reigns not by brute strength or armor, but by pure mechanical elegance, a creature of muscle and momentum, designed to vanish or strike in a blink. Suspended in the twilight zone of the ocean, a squid floats with arms tucked close and fins gently undulating. At rest, it seems passive, almost passive enough to overlook. But in truth, it is a loaded spring, and the next second will not resemble the last. At the heart of the squid's remarkable mobility is its jet propulsion system, a muscular innovation shared with its cephalopod cousins, but refined to a level that turns swimming into controlled explosions. Water is drawn into the mantle cavity, which balloons outward like a bellows. With a sudden contraction, the squid forces the water out through its siphon, a flexible nozzle capable of rotating to adjust direction. This process, repeated in rhythmic bursts, allows for linear sprints, agile turns, and even vertical launches that send the animal rocketing through the water with startling acceleration. Some species, like the neon flying squid, have even been documented breaching the surface and gliding meters through the air, not as a fluke, but as an intentional maneuver to escape predators or cover distance quickly. Unlike fish, which rely on tail fin oscillation for propulsion, squid bypass the undulating rhythm of vertebrate swimmers in favor of explosive thrust. This gives them a unique advantage in short-distance sprints. While they cannot match the sustained cruising speeds of tuna or sharks, squid can out-accelerate most vertebrates in the first moments of flight, reaching speeds upwards of 25 kilometers per hour, depending on species and size. It's not sustained speed that defines their race. It's the burst, the escape, the unpredictability of a creature that can launch backward, spin mid-run, and vanish into open water before a predator can close the gap. But speed alone does not guarantee survival in the ocean's middle layers. What sets the squid apart is its ability to pair velocity with active decision-making. When threatened, many squid release a burst of ink, a mixture of melanin, enzymes, and mucus that clouds the water and masks their retreat. Unlike a simple smokescreen, this ink often takes on the shape and motion of the fleeing squid, creating a decoy effect that distracts the predator. Meanwhile, the real animal executes a high-speed directional shift, often at a right angle from its original path, using the siphon to pivot and accelerate simultaneously. The predator lunges at the ink and the squid is already gone. These escape tactics aren't improvised. They are deeply ingrained survival strategies honed through millions of years of evolutionary pressure. The deep pelagic zones are home to fast, specialized predators. Dolphins, swordfish, tuna, and large predatory fish that hunt by speed and detection. The squid's solution has been to match speed with intelligence and control. The eyes of a squid are among the most advanced in the invertebrate world. Large, complex, and capable of detecting contrast, motion, and shape, even in low light. In species like Dosidicus gigas, the Humboldt squid, vision is central to both hunting and evasion, enabling split-second adjustments to movement based on the faintest visual cue. Yet not all squid are built the same. The diversity of squid propulsion reflects the diversity of environments they inhabit. Reef-associated species like the reef squid combine jet propulsion with large lateral fins that provide stability and maneuverability in confined spaces. Their movement is more refined, allowing for hover-like suspension and controlled navigation among rocks and coral. In contrast, oceanic squids like the purpleback flying squid optimize for speed with narrow bodies, reduced fins, and powerful mantle muscles that support long-distance migration across the Indo-Pacific. These species often travel in synchronized shoals, moving like mirrored missiles across the water column, covering vast stretches of ocean with rhythmic bursts. When it comes to hunting, many squid don't slow down, they speed up. Unlike cuttlefish, which rely on stealth and ambush, squids often pursue their prey actively. Using their excellent vision and agile propulsion, they track small fish and crustaceans in open water, closing the distance rapidly with short jets and sudden lunges. At the critical moment, two long feeding tentacles shoot forward with lightning speed, equipped with suction cups or hooks depending on the species. Once the prey is secured, the shorter arms pull it inward toward a chitinous beak, hard enough to shear through shells and exoskeletons with ease. The entire process from detection to digestion is a matter of seconds, another race where hesitation is a liability. Despite being soft-bodied and lacking any bones, squid possess a remarkable degree of structural control. The internal pen, a chitinous support rod embedded along the mantle, gives them a degree of axial stiffness that helps transmit muscular force during jetting. Combined with coordinated contraction of circular and longitudinal mantle muscles, the squid can regulate the power and frequency of its propulsion, sprinting when needed, hovering when stalking, or cruising when migrating. The siphon, acting like a variable thrust engine, can be rotated almost 360 degrees, allowing fine-tuned control over movement. This gives squid an extraordinary range of mobility, unmatched among marine invertebrates. But like many sprinters in nature, squids pay a price for their speed. Their high metabolic rate, required to sustain powerful muscular contractions and neural processing, demands constant oxygen and energy. Many squid species have adapted large gills and rapid circulation to compensate, but they remain vulnerable to prolonged chases or oxygen-poor waters. Some deep-sea squid have evolved alternate strategies: slower movements, bioluminescence for communication and decoy, or reduced muscle mass to conserve energy. In the sunlit zones, however, where reaction speed is everything, the fastest squid push their systems to the edge, living fast, growing quickly, and dying young. Most live only about 1 to 2 years, spending their brief lives in constant motion, feeding, fleeing, and reproducing in a fluid battlefield with few hiding places. Perhaps the most alien trait of squids is the combination of extreme speed and soft vulnerability. They embody a paradox. Creatures built for escape yet exposed, capable of hunting mid-sprint, yet themselves relentlessly hunted. This has led to extraordinary adaptations not just in movement, but in behavior and even social structure. Some species exhibit schooling, not in the synchronized, telepathic way of fish, but through visual signaling, rapid pattern shifts, and alignment. Others, like the colossal squid, favor ambush and stealth, using slower but deliberate propulsion to approach from below in the abyss. Whether fast or slow, all rely on control, not just of speed, but of angle, timing, and space. In the story of oceanic velocity, where power often comes with bulk and endurance comes with bone, the squid offers a different lesson. Speed can be soft, flexible, and unpredictable. It can twist, retract, and vanish. It can come not from the tail or the spine, but from a single jet of water and a split-second decision. In a realm where most predators dominate with jaws and muscle, the squid races with physics and fluid. It is not the fastest swimmer, nor the most powerful, but in the jet-propelled art of getting somewhere, or getting away, it is unmatched. Squids don't just move fast. They move like nothing else in the sea. In the warm shallows of the Indo-Pacific, where sunlight filters through translucent turquoise and sandbanks ripple with the push and pull of a lazy tide, movement often seems unhurried. Soft corals sway with the rhythm of the waves, small reef fish hover above crevices, and the occasional flicker of silver suggests the quiet presence of a juvenile barracuda or a drifting jack. But just beneath this calm facade, a different kind of swimmer weaves through the water, not with fins or flukes, but with muscle, spine, and precision. From a distance, it appears as a black ribbon coiling effortlessly between rocks. Closer inspection reveals the true form: scales, eyes, and a flattened tail slicing through water with rhythmic grace. This is a sea snake, a reptile adapted to a world that is anything but forgiving. Though they share ancestry with terrestrial elapids like cobras and kraits, sea snakes have taken to the ocean in ways few reptiles have. Their bodies are cylindrical, but the rear portion of their tail is paddle-shaped, evolved specifically to push water efficiently. Unlike their land-dwelling relatives, their nostrils are located on the top of their snouts and have muscular valves that seal tightly during dives. Their lungs stretch nearly the length of their body, allowing extended underwater excursions, some lasting up to 2 hours, while a specialized patch of skin in their mouths helps absorb oxygen directly from seawater. They are not casual visitors to the ocean. They are fully aquatic, born at sea, and often never setting belly to land in their lifetime. While much of their reputation centers around their venom, among the most potent of any animal, what is often overlooked is their speed and maneuverability. Sea snakes are remarkably agile, capable of quick, whip-like bursts that allow them to chase down prey or evade threats in environments that range from reef flats to open pelagic waters. Unlike fish, which use fins and a series of oscillations to swim, sea snakes rely entirely on lateral undulation, the coordinated wave-like motion of their entire body. This movement, powered by hundreds of muscle segments along their spine, generates thrust not just backward, but with slight directional shifts that allow them to adjust course mid-swim. When tracking prey through coral mazes or navigating shifting currents, this flexibility becomes a tactical advantage. It isn't speed in a straight line. It's speed with nuance, a kind of aquatic agility rarely seen in reptiles. Their prey, primarily small fish, eels, and sometimes crustaceans, are not passive meals. Many are alert, fast, and capable of slipping into tight crevices. Sea snakes compensate with a dual advantage: stealth and reach. Their elongated necks allow them to probe deep into reef structures, and their visual acuity is surprisingly high for reptiles. Their venom, delivered through short, fixed fangs, is fast-acting and neurotoxic, designed not to incapacitate over minutes, but in seconds. In some species, such as the banded sea krait, Laticauda colubrina, the strike is often followed by immediate pursuit, the snake tracking the twitching prey as it flees, grabbing it mid-motion and swallowing it whole, all while undulating gently in open water. But not all sea snakes are small-scale hunters. The Hydrophis major, one of the largest true sea snakes, reaches lengths over 2 meters and preys on larger fish, including catfish and bottom dwellers. In deeper water, these snakes cruise along the substrate, their movement steady but deceptive. When prey is spotted, they switch tactics, shifting from slow patrol to rapid advance, coiling into a looped position that allows for sudden acceleration. Their strike is not as visually dramatic as that of a viper or cobra, but in water, it is more efficient. A direct dart forward, jaws snapping open just wide enough to pierce with surgical precision. The prey, if struck cleanly, rarely escapes, and if it does, the snake follows with unblinking calm until the venom takes hold. Interestingly, not all sea snake speed is directed at prey. In certain regions, particularly around Southeast Asian estuaries and reef drop-offs, sea snakes have developed an entirely different application of speed: escape. While they are rarely preyed upon by large fish due to their toxicity, they are still vulnerable to animals like sharks and sea eagles, and even to entanglement in fishing nets. When threatened, some species demonstrate an astonishing ability to accelerate laterally, flicking their entire body into a sharp turn or sudden dive. This is not aimless thrashing. but directional movement, a calculated surge that leverages their flexible bodies and powerful tail to create distance. In this respect, their swimming resembles not the consistency of fish, but the reflexive precision of a land snake startled into flight, adapted for an alien medium. Behaviorally, sea snakes are also surprisingly diverse. Some species live solitary, patrolling reefs or seagrass beds in silence. Others, such as the pelagic Hydrophis platurus, have been observed forming temporary surface aggregations during certain seasons, drifting in slick-like formations across ocean currents. In these moments, their movement becomes more synchronized, their propulsion more energy efficient. This species in particular is adapted for life far from shore, its swimming style more erratic, its coloration a bright yellow and black, signaling toxicity to potential threats. It spends most of its life floating, feeding on fish larvae and small schooling fish. But when startled, it propels itself downward in bursts that rival the thrust of jetting cephalopods. Sea snakes also present a challenge to the assumptions we place on reptiles. They thermoregulate in cooler waters by choosing depths that match their internal needs, relying on behavioral adjustments rather than rapid physiological ones. Their heart rate slows drastically during deep dives, allowing oxygen conservation. Their tongues flick in water not for smell, as in land snakes, but likely to sense chemical gradients, possibly detecting prey plumes or changes in water salinity. Speed for sea snakes is not just a matter of locomotion. It is part of a larger system of adaptations that allow them to operate in a realm where few other reptiles survive. Despite their potency and adaptations, sea snakes are often surprisingly tolerant toward divers and swimmers. Their movements near humans are generally slow, investigative, and rarely aggressive. Strikes are almost unheard of without provocation. Yet this calm demeanor belies their potential for violence. When cornered or mishandled, their speed becomes defensive. A whip turn, a rapid swim away, or in rare cases, a lightning-fast bite that delivers enough neurotoxin to shut down a human respiratory system in under an hour. What's curious is how rarely they use this option, favoring retreat and repositioning over confrontation. In the grand equation of the sea, they know that speed, properly managed, offers more than survival. It offers control. In the world of marine motion, where fish dart, sharks surge, and squid rocket, the sea snake offers a subtler version of speed. It doesn't race with brute force, nor does it rely on explosive power. Its motion is sinuous, calculated, and quiet. But it is no less effective. In the shallows and the depths, between corals and in open channels, it moves like a current of muscle and instinct, propelled not by urgency, but by precision. And in those rare moments when it surges forward, fangs ready, body aligned, the sea snake proves that even the most ancient of reptiles can master the modern physics of ocean speed. In the quiet folds of the seafloor, where soft sand gives way to scattered rocks and swaying tufts of algae, a subtle ripple passes beneath a ledge. Nothing obvious, just a slight distortion of texture, a twitch of movement against the background. What seemed like coral moments ago reforms, reconstitutes, then moves. An eye appears, then arms, and finally the whole of an octopus shifts from stillness into motion. It has been here the whole time, hiding in plain sight, its body mirroring the contours, color, and even the shadow gradients of its surroundings. But now something nearby has changed. The current has shifted, a shape has entered the periphery. The octopus knows the pattern, a predator is approaching, and the illusion has served its purpose. The next act is escape. An octopus does not rely on endurance or brute speed. It is not built to run. Instead, it is engineered for exit. Fast, chaotic, calculated exits that exploit confusion, terrain, and deception. The mechanism is both simple and powerful. Jet propulsion. Water is drawn into the mantle cavity and forcefully expelled through a muscular funnel called a siphon. When threatened, the octopus contracts its mantle muscles rapidly, expelling water backward and propelling itself forward in an abrupt, sudden burst. The movement is direct and forceful, capable of launching the animal several body lengths in a single pulse. For its size and build, the acceleration is impressive, but it's what follows that defines the octopus's unique mastery of escape. As the jet propulsion kicks in, the octopus releases a cloud of ink, a thick, dark mix of melanin and mucus stored in a specialized ink sac. This isn't just a visual barrier. The mucus content causes the ink to form dense plumes or decoy blobs, that mimic the size and shape of the fleeing animal. To the predator, it's not just darkness, it's distraction. Vision is disrupted, chemical trails are masked, and in the critical half-second of hesitation, the octopus is already gone, blending into a different background, changing shape, or slipping into a crevice too narrow for pursuit. This disappearing act is not a trick of luck. It's an evolved strategy that combines muscle, mind, and skin in seamless coordination. Octopuses possess skin embedded with chromatophores, iridophores, and leucophores, layers of pigment sacs and reflective cells that can change color, brightness, and even texture in milliseconds. Neural impulses control these structures directly, allowing the octopus to match its surroundings with uncanny precision. In some species, like the common octopus, researchers have documented over 50 distinct camouflage patterns, some activated automatically when a specific background is detected. The disguise isn't static, it updates constantly, shifting with each change in light, angle, or seafloor composition. When combined with the physical ability to alter body posture, shape, and even limb position to resemble algae, rocks, or coral, the result is more than camouflage. It's immersion. The octopus doesn't just hide, it becomes part of the environment, a tactic that buys it time, concealment, or the perfect moment to strike back or vanish altogether. While the octopus's jet propulsion may seem less refined than the controlled swimming of fish or the explosive bursts of squid, it compensates with adaptability. It doesn't require a stable trajectory or precise angle. Octopuses can jet backwards, angle sideways, or rotate in mid-motion. Their boneless bodies are astonishingly flexible, allowing them to squeeze through holes no wider than their beak, the only hard part of their anatomy. This means that during escape, an octopus can accelerate, redirect, and disappear into terrain that would confound most predators. Coral heads, reef crevices, even discarded bottles or hollow sponges, all become doors through which the octopus can vanish. But the escape plan doesn't end with speed or stealth. In many instances, octopuses exhibit a puzzling behavior, mid-flight reorientation. After releasing ink and jetting away, they often turn to reassess the threat, changing their skin color in real time to match the new background. This suggests that the escape isn't blind panic. It's a deliberate, multi-stage process that incorporates decision-making under pressure. In some species, like the veined octopus, Amphiooctopus marginatus, individuals have been observed carrying coconut shells or debris to use as mobile shelters. When startled, they retreat into the shell, use it as a shield, or flip it over themselves like armor. This kind of tool use is exceptionally rare in invertebrates and hints at an intelligence that governs more than instinct. Octopus brains are unlike those of any vertebrate. Two-thirds of their neurons are not located in the central brain, but in the arms themselves. Each limb operates with a degree of autonomy, capable of exploring, sensing, and reacting independently of the others. During an escape, while the main body jets away, the arms remain active, anchoring briefly to objects, redirecting momentum, or feeling for refuge. This decentralized control system allows octopuses to multitask during high-stress encounters in a way that appears both fluid and improvised. From the outside, their flight looks chaotic, but internally, it is a cascade of coordinated muscle contractions, neural commands, and rapid sensory feedback. Predators often underestimate this complexity. Moray eels, groupers, and reef sharks all hunt octopuses, but most only succeed when the element of surprise tilts the odds. An octopus caught in the open is vulnerable. It cannot match a shark in speed or an eel in bite strength. But even then, its defenses don't collapse. Some species, when cornered, resort to autotomy, the voluntary shedding of a limb. The detached arm continues to twitch and writhe, distracting the attacker while the octopus makes its escape. Remarkably, the arm is later regrown, though the regeneration process is slow and energetically costly. It's a biological last resort, but in the harsh economy of marine survival, sacrificing a limb can be the difference between life and death. Even the choice of habitat reflects the octopus's need for a strategic edge. Most species avoid open water, preferring the cluttered complexity of reef systems, kelp forests, and rocky outcrops. These environments offer more than camouflage. They offer escape routes, places to wedge into, surfaces to manipulate. Octopuses explore these spaces methodically, often rearranging rocks and shells to construct dens with single narrow openings that only they can fit through. These dens are not temporary shelters, they are bases of operation, escape hatches pre-selected in anticipation of trouble, and when trouble comes, the exit is already mapped. Speed in the world of the octopus is not measured solely by velocity. It is measured by execution, how fast a plan can unfold, how quickly a disguise can shift, how rapidly an arm can reposition, a siphon can fire, or a mind can change course. The octopus's strength lies not in a singular ability, but in the fusion of many: explosive motion, chemical warfare, adaptive camouflage, and problem solving. All of it converges in those fleeting moments when a predator closes in and the octopus decides not to fight, not to outpace, but to vanish. In the hierarchy of marine escape artists, few match the octopus's repertoire. It is not the fastest swimmer, not the strongest fighter, not the most armored, and yet it survives in predator-dense waters by mastering the art of disappearance. Speed for the octopus is not a constant state. It is an emergency maneuver, violent, brief, and highly effective. When deployed, it is not meant to win a race. It is meant to end one before it begins. In the dim, sand-dusted corridors of the ocean floor, where boulders lean into one another like fallen monuments and sponges cling to shadowed crevices, there is a different kind of violence at play. Here, speed isn't about movement through water. It's about the speed of a closing claw. Not swimming, not sprinting, but striking with such velocity that the surrounding water is momentarily torn apart by the act itself. This is the domain of snapping crustaceans, where the traditional arms race is redefined in terms of milliseconds. And while most lobsters lumber quietly across the benthic landscape with slow deliberation, one family cousin breaks that mold completely. This is the world of the snapping claw, and in it, raw kinetic speed becomes a weapon of pressure and sound. Among the crustaceans equipped with this extraordinary capability, the pistol shrimp, not a true lobster but its close relative, is perhaps the most iconic. It doesn't rely on brute strength or armored bulk. It isn't fast in the way tuna or squid are fast. Instead, it holds within a disproportionately large claw the ability to create a bubble that explodes with enough force to stun, injure, or kill. The mechanics are astonishingly simple in concept, but deeply complex in execution. When the claw snaps shut, a plunger-like structure inside compresses the water in front of it so rapidly that it forms a cavitation bubble, a vapor-filled void created by the sudden drop in pressure. This bubble, however, is anything but empty. Within microseconds, it collapses with a shockwave and a flash of heat that, in laboratory conditions, has been measured to momentarily exceed 4,700 degrees Celsius, roughly the temperature at the surface of the sun. The speed of this claw snap is estimated at over 100 kilometers per hour, but more critical than its velocity is its precision. The shrimp uses this tool not indiscriminately but with uncanny control, choosing its moment with care, often ambushing small fish, crabs, or even intruding shrimp with a single devastating burst. It doesn't need a prolonged chase or a physical grip. One shot, well aimed, is enough to disorient prey, leaving it twitching or unconscious for the few seconds it takes to move in and finish the job. And even when not hunting, the claw serves other functions. It clears burrow space, wards off intruders, and communicates presence. A volley of pops through the water column is both a warning and a claim, a reminder that beneath these rocks lives an animal capable of transforming water into a weapon. But the pistol shrimp is not alone in this strategy. Some species of lobsters, particularly the aptly named snapping lobsters found in certain tropical shallows, have independently evolved similar mechanics, though often less powerful. Their claws, instead of crushing or pinching slowly like those of the more familiar American lobster, close with sudden force, designed more for impact than grip. While they don't generate the same supersonic bubbles as their shrimp cousins, the speed and violence of the snap serve comparable functions: startling threats, interrupting attacks, and delivering quick, decisive force in narrow quarters. Their environment favors these traits. In tide pools and under ledges, where ambushes are frequent and space is limited, the ability to react instantly can mean the difference between escape and predation. Visually, the process is deceptive. To the naked eye, or to a diver glancing past, the claw movement is almost invisible. One moment the lobster is stationary, the next a muffled pop cracks through the water, followed by a puff of disturbed silt or the sudden recoil of a smaller animal nearby. The predator doesn't lunge. It snaps, resets, and resumes its watch. There is no pursuit, no follow-up charge. In this corner of the ocean, the race ends the moment it begins. What's even more fascinating is how these animals cope with the extreme mechanical stress of their strikes. The internal structures of the snapping claw are reinforced with specialized proteins and exoskeletal thickening that reduce wear and resist fracturing under repeated use. Some species regenerate the claw after loss, but in reverse symmetry, if the dominant snapping claw is lost, the opposite one enlarges and transforms into a functional replacement over successive molts. The neural wiring even adapts, shifting the animal's lateralization to favor the newly dominant side. It's not just repair, it's a full-body recalibration. The implications of this speed weaponry extend beyond predation. In many ecosystems, snapping crustaceans are ecosystem engineers. Their burrowing activities shape sediment distribution, aerate the seafloor, and create micro-habitats used by a range of smaller organisms. The snapping mechanism often serves as both tool and defense in this context, clearing debris from entrances, dislodging pebbles, or defending from opportunistic intruders like gobies and small octopuses. In some documented symbiotic relationships, gobies share burrows with snapping shrimp, with the fish acting as sentinels while the shrimp maintains the dwelling. These pairings, while fragile, highlight the complex interplay between speed, cooperation, and environment. The acoustics of the snapping claw have also drawn scientific interest. In some coastal habitats, entire underwater soundscapes are dominated by the crackling chorus of snapping shrimp, their millions of tiny blasts combining into a persistent, popcorn-like background noise that can mask submarine sonar and confuse acoustic tracking devices. In military contexts, this has been both a nuisance and a curiosity, a natural form of auditory camouflage. The ocean, often romanticized as silent, is in reality filled with these micro-blasts of kinetic punctuation. Unlike the high-speed swimmers of the pelagic zone, lobsters and shrimp wield speed as a localized phenomenon, intense, controlled, and always on a hair trigger. It's a different kind of race, one that doesn't unfold over meters, but over milliseconds. It doesn't involve long pursuits or extended evasion. It's about reaction time, about converting potential into impact faster than the opponent can respond. A crab's claw might grip, a fish's tail might flee, but a snapping claw strikes, then waits. In this sequence, the burst matters more than the chase. So while the lobster may not move with the fluid grace of a cuttlefish or the propulsion of a squid, it still participates in the ocean's ongoing speed contest, just at a different scale. Its victories aren't measured in distance covered, but in how quickly a message is delivered. Don't come closer. That warning, when backed by a weapon that makes even water recoil, is enough to keep most challengers at bay. In the architecture of marine survival, sometimes speed isn't about running. It's about what happens when you stand your ground and strike first. At the seam between land and sea, where tides retreat to reveal glistening sand flats and scattered shells, movement comes in flashes. The stillness of the shoreline, broken only by the distant hiss of receding waves and the soft wind rustling dune grasses, masks the kinetic urgency that erupts just underfoot. Along these margins, where heat, exposure, and danger converge, small figures dart from burrows and vanish again before the eye can lock focus. These are the shoreline sprinters, crabs adapted not just to survive in the intertidal zone, but to race across it. Among them, the ghost crab reigns as the undisputed champion of sideways speed. The ghost crab, Ocypode quadrata, is named not for its color, but for its ability to disappear. Translucent and sand-colored, its body blends almost perfectly with the dry upper beach. But its camouflage is only the first layer of its defense. The real genius lies in its movement. When startled, a ghost crab doesn't hesitate. It launches laterally, legs blurring in a staccato rhythm, kicking up small puffs of sand as it angles toward its burrow, or any shadowed hollow that offers escape. The motion is startlingly fast. Under controlled observation, ghost crabs have been recorded sprinting at nearly 1.6 meters per second, comparable to a human running over 30 body lengths in 1 second. That acceleration, especially over loose sand, puts it among the fastest terrestrial invertebrates known. The crab's design is specialized for this niche. With 10 limbs, including 2 claws and 8 walking legs, its body plan is naturally suited to lateral movement. The primary walking legs are long and jointed at angles that allow for optimal leverage in sideways thrust. The body remains low to the ground, reducing drag and increasing stability during motion. And unlike most animals that rely on forward vision while fleeing, ghost crabs rely heavily on their elevated stalked eyes, capable of scanning nearly 360 degrees, while the rest of the body focuses purely on directional speed. This anatomical separation between sensory processing and locomotion is a key to their agility. They can run without looking where they're going because they're always watching everything. Ghost crabs are not the only crustaceans to exhibit these traits, but they embody them in their purest form. On tropical beaches across the world, from the Caribbean to the Indo-Pacific, variations of this species have evolved under similar pressures: heat, aerial predators, and rapid tidal changes. They spend the day in self-dug burrows that spiral deep enough to maintain moisture and coolness, emerging at night or during low tide to forage along the shore. Their diet is opportunistic: dead fish, insect larvae, small mollusks, even the eggs of sea turtles. But every excursion away from the safety of the burrow is a calculated risk, and speed is the one variable they can control. From gulls overhead to raccoons and foxes prowling the dunes, threats can arrive from any direction. The crab's answer is always the same: run sideways fast and disappear. In reef zones and rocky coastlines, other crab species employ similar methods, though the terrain demands a different kind of speed. The Sally Lightfoot crab, common along the Pacific shores of the Americas, clings to wave-battered rock faces with remarkable tenacity. Its legs are flattened for grip and strength rather than raw pace, and yet it still darts in sideways bursts between tidal pools, navigating uneven surfaces with a precision that borders on improbable. It's not the straight line speed that defines this species, but the ability to burst from cover and reset position faster than a predator can react. A strategy that mimics, in effect, the ghost crab's open beach sprinting, just translated to vertical, slippery terrain. The sideways gait of crabs isn't a biological quirk. It's an engineering solution to a structural constraint. Unlike vertebrates, crabs have rigid exoskeletons that house their muscle systems internally. Their legs attach to the body in such a way that they extend more easily to the sides than forward or backward. This makes direct movement inefficient and awkward, but allows for exceptional speed laterally. What might seem like a limitation becomes an advantage when the habitat demands rapid exit in unpredictable directions. For crabs, speed is not just about covering ground. It's about pivoting angles, clearing obstacles, and maintaining balance even as the substrate shifts beneath them. Crabs also demonstrate a surprising ability to process sensory information while in motion. During their dashes, many species can adjust direction mid-stride in response to changes in light, vibration, or air pressure, cues that often signal approaching danger. Their neural circuitry is streamlined for rapid signal relay. Visual and tactile input trigger muscular response with minimal processing delay. In some cases, ghost crabs have been seen dodging thrown objects mid-sprint or reversing direction entirely when confronted with new obstacles, suggesting not only instinctive behavior but real-time decision-making. In high-density areas where hundreds of crabs may emerge at once, such as breeding aggregations or mass foraging events, the shoreline becomes a chaotic racecourse. Each crab competes not only with predators, but with its own kind for territory, mates, and access to food. In these moments, speed becomes more than survival. It becomes social strategy. Dominant individuals are often those capable of asserting position quickly, rushing into contested spaces and retreating just as fast. Males frequently display by performing high-speed lunges near rivals, not to strike, but to demonstrate fitness. The fastest crab isn't necessarily the one that runs away. It's often the one that arrives first. Yet this capacity for speed comes with costs. The rapid movement consumes energy quickly, and crabs, particularly those living in hot, arid beach zones, risk dehydration if they stay out of their burrows too long. Their bodies are designed to retain moisture, but only to a point. When the sand gets too hot or the wind too dry, they retreat underground to conserve fluid and lower their metabolic rate. Many species plug their burrow entrances during the hottest part of the day, maintaining humidity within while their bodies rest and recover from the morning's exertions. Interestingly, the sideways sprint is also used as a hunting tactic in certain species. The predatory shore crab, for instance, will sometimes feint sideways toward a prey item before lunging with a claw, exploiting the element of surprise. Even within aquatic environments, crabs use their lateral movement to create unpredictable paths when chasing or cornering smaller prey. Their bursts are short, often less than a meter, But paired with rapid shifts in direction and the ability to maneuver through complex terrain, they become deceptively effective. In the broader narrative of marine velocity, crabs may not always be seen as contenders. They do not possess fins nor streamlined profiles. Their armor is clunky, their movement asymmetrical, but when viewed in their element, racing across hot sand in the blinding midday light or weaving through reef rubble as a shadow glides above, they reveal a different truth. Speed is not always elegant. It is sometimes jagged, abrupt, and sideways, yet it works. It has been refined over millions of years not for glory, but for survival. And in the ecosystems where escape is measured in milliseconds and the wrong direction means death, these crustaceans have turned a sidestep into a signature move. The race for them never runs in a straight line, but it runs fast. In the shallows of rocky coastlines, among the algae-slicked boulders and wave-battered tidal pools, adult sea urchins cling to the substrate like tiny, immobile fortresses. Their spiny globes appear motionless, relics of the reef's slower rhythm. Grazers that move by inches over hours, scraping algae with quiet persistence. But the story of sea urchin speed doesn't lie in these armored adults. To understand their true race, you have to shrink, not just your focus but your scale, and descend into the invisible layer of life that swirls above the reef in constant flux. Here, in the microscopic world of plankton, sea urchin larvae are locked in a different kind of struggle. Not a sprint for territory, but a survival race through danger, drift, and developmental deadlines. Shortly after spawning, often triggered by seasonal cues like temperature shifts or lunar cycles, adult urchins release clouds of gametes into the water column. Fertilization takes place externally, with sperm and eggs meeting in open water. What emerges is a larva so unlike its parent that it could belong to another species altogether. Known as a pluteus, this early stage is delicate, nearly transparent, and shaped not like a sphere, but like a spindly, glassy star with long arms stretched outward. These arms aren't for show. They are covered in rows of microscopic cilia, hair-like structures that beat in coordinated waves to generate propulsion. Though invisible to the unaided eye, the motion is constant, tireless, and impressively directed for a creature without eyes, limbs, or a central brain. Each larva swims by manipulating the flow of water across its cilia, adjusting the angle and speed of the beat to change direction or rise through the water column. This control allows the pluteus to remain suspended in planktonic drifts rather than sinking into the dark, predator-rich bottom too early. Despite their tiny size, often less than a millimeter across, sea urchin larvae are remarkably active swimmers within their scale. Measured in body lengths per second, they can travel at speeds that, scaled to human dimensions, rival the relative pace of sprinting fish or even jet-propelled invertebrates. But here, the race isn't for distance. It's for positioning, survival, and eventually, anchorage. The ocean at this scale is a hostile place. Within the soup of drifting microorganisms, the larval urchin competes for space and food while avoiding an array of dangers. Predatory zooplankton, such as larval fish, jellyfish medusae, and ctenophores, patrol these zones with filters, stinging cells, or snapping appendages that make quick work of slow or unlucky prey. The pluteus must not only keep moving, but move smartly, reacting to chemical cues, microcurrents, and subtle gradients in salinity and temperature. These larvae show an astonishing sensitivity to environmental factors. In lab studies, they have been observed changing vertical swimming behavior in response to light and turbulence, possibly as a way to avoid surface predators or improve access to phytoplankton, their primary food source during development. The ciliated arms that serve as propellers also act as filters. As the larva swims, it sieves tiny algae and detritus from the surrounding water, directing food particles toward its mouth through coordinated ciliary currents. In this way, every motion is dual purpose, locomotion and feeding. Energy intake fuels the continued growth of the larva, which must develop a full internal skeleton, digestive system, and, crucially, the rudiments of the adult urchin body hidden deep within its transparent frame. This inner transformation is where the race takes its final form: time. The larva must survive long enough in the open ocean to grow, metamorphose, and find a suitable place to settle on the seafloor. Failure to do so means not just death, but the absence of the next generation on the reef. Some species remain in the plankton for weeks, others for months. The longer the larval stage, the farther a population can disperse. potentially colonizing new territories far from their origin. But the gamble increases with time. Every additional hour in the water column is an hour exposed to predation, current displacement, or starvation. In some coastal environments, upwelling events can pull entire cohorts of larvae offshore and into colder, food-poor waters, where development slows and survival plummets. Meanwhile, other individuals may find themselves pushed prematurely onto the reef by storms or tidal surges, unable to settle properly because their bodies aren't yet ready. The window for successful settlement is narrow and unforgiving. Settlement itself is an elegant biological shift. When the larva detects chemical signals from crustose coralline algae or biofilm-covered rocks, indicators of a suitable habitat, it stops swimming. Ciliary motion slows, then ceases. The body contracts. The fragile larval arms dissolve, and a new form emerges from within, the juvenile urchin, already equipped with spines, tube feet, and the primitive jaws it will use for a lifetime of scraping algae. This transformation, known as metamorphosis, is irreversible. From that moment forward, the urchin no longer swims, no longer drifts. It becomes a benthic grazer, slow, deliberate, armored. The race has ended, and the pace of adulthood begins. But beneath the adult's slow exterior lies a memory of that early sprint. The distribution and abundance of sea urchins on reefs, kelp beds, and rocky shores are not just the result of slow, steady migration. They are shaped by the larval race, the microscopic contest that plays out in currents and eddies, invisible to most but vital to all. An urchin's adult presence on a reef tells a quiet story of escape, of a larva that swam fast enough, ate enough, avoided being eaten, and arrived at just the right time in just the right place. Every adult carries the legacy of that hidden gauntlet. In the grand narrative of marine velocity, the sea urchin is an unexpected character. Its adult form moves centimeters per hour, a pace so slow it's imperceptible without time-lapse footage. But its legacy of speed resides in its earliest moments, a microscopic drama of motion, decision, and survival that unfolds beneath every swell and wave. In this race, speed doesn't look like propulsion or pursuit. It looks like a trembling cilia field, a flicker of movement under a microscope, a brief triumph of biology over oceanic indifference. It's not just a race against predators, or drift, or hunger. It's a race against time itself, and only the fastest, smartest, and luckiest survive to begin again. 1,000 meters beneath the surface, the ocean changes its laws. Sunlight, once scattered like molten silver across the waves, is long gone. What remains is darkness, not just a lack of light, but a realm where illumination is a rare biological event, conjured by living organisms for specific strategic purposes. Pressure here exceeds 100 times that of sea level. The temperature rarely rises above 4 degrees Celsius. There are no plants, no photosynthesis, no coral architecture to anchor the world in color or form. This is the midnight zone, a vast, silent pressure chamber where speed, even in its most subtle form, remains a decisive weapon. In such an alien place, fast movement is not the rule, it's the exception. Most life here conserves energy with a precision bordering on absolute stillness, but when action does occur, it is often immediate, unannounced, and final. The monkfish, a grotesque predator with a face carved in perpetual scowl, lies half buried in soft sediment. Its dorsal spine extends forward like a crooked finger, tipped with a lure that pulses with bioluminescence. To anything in the deep tuned to the faintest signal of light, it resembles a free-floating morsel. Copepods, larval squid, small fish. They drift close, their movements cautious but curious. And then, with shocking speed, the monkfish strikes. The distance is measured in centimeters, but the speed of the lunge is explosive. Its jaws expand outward in a split-second vacuum, sucking water and prey into a mouth lined with backward slanting teeth. There is no chase, no second attempt. Success is binary. Speed in this world is not measured by sustained bursts or endurance, but by readiness, the ability to collapse time between stimulus and action. Reaction time, not range, defines the winners. Take the deep-sea amphipods. These shrimp-like scavengers found around whale falls and hydrothermal vent systems are deceptively fast movers within their miniature scale. Using rapidly oscillating pleopods, specialized swimming limbs, they can dart through the water faster than expected for such cold, dense environments. In a swarm, they descend upon a carcass like ants in zero gravity, moving in zigzag bursts that seem chaotic but are guided by chemical gradients. The goal is to arrive first, feed hard, and leave before larger predators, grenadiers, eelpouts, or hagfish, crowd in. Their race is not over meters but moments. Even a few seconds delay means less access to nutrient-rich tissue and a greater chance of becoming prey themselves. Among the strangest speed specialists are ambush polychaete worms, sometimes called bobbit worms, in shallow waters, though even more bizarre relatives exist in the deep. These segmented predators bury themselves beneath the seafloor, with only a pair of antennae or sensitive palps exposed. When a trigger, a vibration or pressure wave, is detected, they strike upward with astounding speed, jaws snapping shut on anything unfortunate enough to pass overhead. The lunge is so sudden and forceful that small fish can be pulled partially into the substrate before realizing they're being attacked. There is no chase, no pursuit, just a tripwire response and a surgical kill. Here, evolution has turned stillness into a spring, one that unloads its energy in the blink of an eye. Light, or the lack of it, defines much of what speed means at this depth. Most deep-sea predators hunt with minimal visual information. Instead, they rely on vibration detection, chemosensory cues, and in some cases, internal timekeeping to anticipate patterns in drifting prey. Some fish, like the dragonfish, use red bioluminescence to hunt, a wavelength invisible to most of their prey. This gives them the ability to see without being seen, an evolutionary advantage that tilts the balance of surprise in their favor. When a target enters their visual field, even if only dimly, they close the gap with surprising velocity, lunging in a ballistic arc before retracting again into the dark. Even some gelatinous predators exhibit these fleeting bursts. Certain species of deep-sea siphonophores, colonial organisms related to jellyfish, can contract their bodies to rapidly reposition themselves toward a drifting prey item. It's not speed in the traditional sense, but a change in orientation achieved far faster than the slow pulsations of surrounding jellies. Their tentacles, equipped with batteries of stinging cells, then seize the prey in a flurry of contact. In an ecosystem where movement is costly and missteps fatal, every twitch, stretch, or pulse is fine-tuned for maximum efficiency. There are also predators that never seem to move until they must. The gulper eel, with its grotesquely expandable jaws and ribbon-like body, is capable of surprisingly quick strikes. It trails its long tail through the blackness, barely undulating. But when disturbed prey crosses its path, it bends into a rapid coil and opens its cavernous mouth wide enough to engulf animals nearly half its size. It doesn't chase. It envelops. What it lacks in muscle, it compensates for with jaw mechanics and timing. At these depths, speed has to contend with physics that work differently than near the surface. Water is denser under pressure, making resistance greater for sudden movement. Muscles work slower at colder temperatures, unless modified by specialized enzymes or fiber types. Most deep-sea animals are not built for prolonged sprints. Their bodies are gelatinous, their metabolism slow, and their oxygen intake limited. So instead, they gamble everything on the first move. Missed strikes are rare, not just because the predators are accurate, but because they can't afford to be otherwise. This is also a world where prey are often just as specialized. Some copepods respond to hydrodynamic pressure changes with reflexive jumps, not in the upward leaps we might imagine, but in rapid flicks of their swimming appendages that launch them meters, relatively speaking, away from danger. Others, like deep-sea shrimps, discharge clouds of bioluminescent chemicals to startle their attacker and use the momentary disorientation to escape in a backward burst. These moments of escape are frantic, directionless, and wholly dependent on raw reflex. What unites all these behaviors, predator and prey, is the context in which they occur. At 1,000 meters, there are no visual cues to pace oneself, no coral reefs to retreat into, no daylight to schedule routines around. The race here is not about territory or migration, it is about moments, microseconds where life is gained or lost. In such a domain, speed is not a sustained performance, it's a trigger, a precisely honed reflex that plays out once, maybe twice, in a creature's life with everything on the line. And so, as the camera pans across the abyssal plain, capturing brief flickers of motion against the inky black, we begin to understand that speed at these depths is not measured in meters per second, it is measured in readiness. It is the pressure-sensitive flick of an amphipod's pleopods, the vacuum strike of a monkfish jaw, the flickering lunge of a worm that hasn't moved in hours. In the deep end, where the ocean exerts its full crushing weight, speed is not about motion, it is about timing. It is the art of being perfectly still until it matters, and then moving like nothing else in the sea.